favorite quotes is from Mary Poppins, and it's anything can happen if you let it. And that's a true statement, and it works in business as well. We can put up so many barriers, decide there's only one path, and not look anywhere else to end up where we're supposed to be. So how can companies ensure they're not just hiring women into leadership roles, but they're actively fostering an environment where they can thrive? Because, you know, we see this, it's, you know, Tina mentioned this, there's a lot of conversation around what's happening now on policies, but sometimes those policies actually have a bad effect when they're in place because of the quest to say, well, we've done all of this and we've checked all these boxes, but we haven't created an environment around checking those boxes that actually lets someone thrive.
I think for me, what was helpful most was the experiences and the exposure that I got. And it was intentional. It wasn't something that was happenstance. There were roles that I took where the leader in place would essentially make it a point to give me assignments that were outside of my core responsibility. So I worked with teams on projects that really were adjacent to my, core operation. And through that, what happened is I built a huge network. A network of supporters, a network that I could rely on over the course of my career, and also just a few more friends to call on if need be. So being very deliberate around building the right experiences and exposure. And I can tell you, it can be really lonely for someone that looks like me in some of these roles, and having partnership, someone that you can, bounce things off of. So deliberately creating a connection that enables young women in particular the opportunity to just get what I call the decoder ring around how to navigate the environment that they're working in. So creating that up front. And then also for women in general, not assuming that, they're incapable of taking on large roles, and partnering with, pretty, I would say, pretty extensive networks. We have some of the most talented young people, young women in our organization, and they don't need to sit in the same seat for 3 or 4 or 5 years before they're ready to make, the next move. And so not being prescriptive about how long one has to be in role before they're ready for the next, the next exposure or the next challenge. I think it's being open to that. But really wrapping yourself around those young women in particular and creating the experiences and exposure and mapping it out and not leaving it to chance, I think is a key driver.
I think that's all well said. I would yes, and a few things. I think obviously a lot of the very formal mechanisms that we have in corporate America around enterprise resource groups and others, I think are impactful and really important to support and move forward. But I would say, in addition to giving people that opportunity and pushing people for the opportunity, is also sticking with them when times get tough. We were actually having a brief conversation upstairs before about this concept of, everybody knows the glass ceiling. Okay, but there's a glass cliff. And so the first time that something goes bang, when you get somebody in that job, what sometimes happens? Move on. Like, you also have to have the stick-to-itiveness and realizing that a lot of times we learn and we're better from some failure as well. And so I think that is absolutely a key piece as well.